Welcome back, everybody. Episode 2, or part 2, I guess, rather, of the 3-part series on modeling, rigging, and animating a scorpion, a low poly scorpion. So here we have the scorpion that we made in the last episode. I totally redid the tail, but I must say I like how that looks a lot more, and I'll like it even better once we get the bones in place. So without further ado, let's start. So we're going to start with making an armature and add a single bone because, well, that's all you can do. And I'm going to switch to wireframe as usual. And you know what? I'm going to get rid of this outer cube here. I'm just going to make it invisible by clicking the little eyeball there. See, that toggles it on and off. I just don't need to see it anymore. I will turn it back on at a later point. But for right now, we don't need that. So here we have one bone. Let's go ahead and open our side panel here by hitting the N key on the keyboard. And we are going to give this a name, and now, for some reason, my item name is always way down, and I like it at the top, because it just makes it easier. And we're going to go ahead and call this Scorpion Armature. And we're going to go ahead and select the scorpion, and instead of calling it cube, we're going to call it Scorpion. Or, you know, we could call it Scorpion Mesh. It really doesn't matter. Just call it something. So if you ever need to go back into the file, it's easy to work with and figure out what's going on. So now we are going to go into edit mode on this bone. And right here we have the name of the full armature, and then we have the name of the individual bone, which is called bone. I don't want it called bone. I'm going to call it master. You could call it parent. You could call it whatever you want. This bone is going to pretty much control the entirety of the scorpion. That'll be, you move that bone and everything moves, I think, is how that should work. And then we're going to just duplicate that bone by hitting Shift D and go ahead and throw this to about the nose end of the scorpion and put this bone to about the tail end, which is right about there. It really doesn't matter. And we're going to go ahead and call this bone body, fittingly enough. Then this end actually we need to put right to there. And we're going to hit the E key to extrude another bone out. And we will call this head. And now if we just switch to pose mode real quick with hitting the tab key, you can see that we can rotate the body. And when we rotate the body, the head moves along with it. And we can rotate the head bone here, and that makes the head move. Now, we are going to have an issue with this mesh, though, because the head, as soon as it rotates, will be coming out of its body, and there will be a gap, which we don't want. So what we're going to do is just go ahead and select the vertices that make up the head on that real quick. And I'm going to drag them back into the body, 0.05. And then we will go back to this. And, you know, I think I'm actually going to put the rotation point kind of between those two. So when the head rotates, it's rotating from starting inside of the body instead of directly at that joint. Alright, so that's that. Let's extrude off of that tailbone here. And we're just going to make a bunch of tails now. So again, doing as I did before, if I can select that, there we go. We're going to kind of put this to where we want the tail to start hinging, which I think I'm going to do there. And then I'll repeat that here. So the tail bones will hinge where the meshes meet inside of each other. So we'll go ahead and stretch that out and put it to that point. And stretch that one out. And we're just extruding this. And now it would make sense to name our first one tail right away. And then every one thereafter would have been called tail with trailing numbers. I'm just going to do tail underscore 1, tail underscore 2, tail, you got it, underscore 3. And this is just simple naming stuff. But let me tell you, when you're trying to set up the rig, it is so much easier to have actual names on this stuff rather than just bone.000 something. Like, you will rip your hair out if you do that. Don't do that to yourself. It's a horrible decision. Alright, so here we have all the tail bones. Let's go ahead into pose mode and see how this tail works out. So we rotate that. Very nice, very nice. This little stinger bit piece here, that's going to be connected to this bone. So when this bone rotates, the last tail segment and that stinger will move with it. So the stinger doesn't need its own bone. Of course, if you wanted the stinger to have its own bone, you can add one. The files will be all available to download from this. Okay, so next thing is the legs. So let's go ahead and make a duplicate. Why is that not working? That's weird. Shift D. Oh, because I'm in pose mode. Yeah, you can't make bones in pose mode. You have to be in edit mode. There we go. Alright, and we're going to make this hinge at the point the leg starts inside of the body. Or maybe here. If it hinges there, let's head over to pose mode again real quick and see how that's going to look. That would make more sense to hinge there than to hinge inside the body. So we'll go back to edit mode and we're just going to put that bone right there, and then we're going to go ahead and extrude this down to the bottom. And then if we go back to pose mode, you can see we'll move the leg and that'll move the lower leg portion. Lower leg portion can move, it can move, all sorts of goodies there. So let's go ahead and call these something. Now I like to use right and left, so I'm going to go ahead and put this to, no, I'll leave it in wireframe. So that's going to be leg underscore, and that is the left, so underscore L for left, underscore 1A. Whoops, I was hitting shift when I hit 1 and got an exclamation point, 1A. And then we're going to call the one below it, and actually let me just copy that because that'll make it easier. And let's go ahead, paste it in, and change the A to a B. So we have leg left, bottom, and top is what our A and B stand for here. Let's go back to edit mode, select those two bones, duplicate, slide over, duplicate, slide over. So easy. Duplicate, move over to here, rotate. Whoa, did you see that weirdness going on? Yep, I saw it too, but don't worry, it's perfectly a-okay. And I could have, I suppose, duplicated all three at the same time. There, so now we have lots of bones for these legs. I'm going to go ahead and rename everything off camera, and I'll be right back. Alright, so everything's been renamed. We have leg left and leg right, 1, 2, and 3. So that is all set up and ready to go for us. Now, I feel like I should point out you don't need to use underscores. You can use dashes, you can use spaces, you can use periods. You can use whatever you want for naming. Just do something that makes sense to you and isn't going to leave you ripping your hair out when you try to set up the rig on the mesh. So again, as you can see, everything here, we can rotate. Stuff can get moved around. One thing I forgot to do, we need to set up all of these legs to have the body as their parent. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to go into Armature bone here, and we are going to go ahead to parent and do body. And we need to do that for all of them, because I forgot to do it on the first one, which would have then made everything else copy it. I did not want connected. Well, that messed that up. Let's undo that. There we go. Uncheck connected and body. Alright, so now we go into pose mode and we take the body bone. All the legs move with the body and the head. The tail doesn't, so let's take the first tail segment and let's be in edit mode. First tail segment and make that child of the body, and then the body should be a child of master. And I think I accidentally clicked on tail, not master. There we go. So now, if we go into pose mode and we move this master bone, everything moves with it. If we move the body, everything moves with that, making the master relatively pointless. So then we have to make a decision. Do we want the tail to necessarily move with the body? Well, move, yes. But when that rotates, should the tail rotate too? Maybe not. Tail should maybe rotate independently? I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and change that. Whoops. Edit mode. I'm going to change its master bone to be master. So still, if we move the master bone, everything moves. But we can move the body independently of the tail now. Which, I don't know if that's necessarily a good idea, but we're going to go with it for the time being. Alright, let's get to the fun stuff. Let's make this actually work and do stuff. So we select the armature, we select the mesh, Control P, and I did that backwards. Select the mesh, select the armature, Control P. Armature, yes, we want to do with empty groups. Is how I want to set this up. Now you could use envelope weights or automatic weights, but on something low poly, you're better off just using empty groups and then manually assigning all of those groups. So let's go ahead and select the mesh here, and we're going to go look at the little triangle thing there, and look at vertex groups, and you will see there's a whole bunch of them. And we are going to assign every single vertex on this mesh to one of these groups. And it's going to be a fun time. So let's go into edit mode, and I'll probably do some of these off camera because it will get really long otherwise. Alright, so let's select all of the pieces of the mesh that make up the head, select the head in the list, and assign. Let's do the same for the body. We'll select everything in the body, assign. Now, there's no point in adding anything to the master bone vertex group, because every single piece that we see here is already going to be controlled by a different bone, and all of those bones are controlled by the master bone. So there's no point in adding any vertices to the master bone. Let's go ahead and select this leg. Now, we know this is the left leg. It's the first leg and it's the top, so we'll assign this to A. And then we're going to select all of the bottom and assign that to B. And that's pretty much what you do. You just go through and add these all to vertex groups. So I'm going to do the rest off camera, and we'll be right back. Alright, so just wrapping up the last of the last tail segment here. Boom, everything is complete. So now let's go out of edit mode back into object mode, and let's select our bones here, go into pose mode, and to make sure this worked, let's just grab some bones and see what happens. Alright, so everything looks to be working here. Yep, indeed it does. Alright, so that's good. Now we need to set up some things so we can actually get to the point where we can do some animation here. So, first things first. What do I want to do? Well, let's just take a look at this tail real quick. Make sure that these joints work well. Alright, with what I have going on here, I can really only do about this much rotation before the open end starts showing. Is that enough rotation? You know what? I think it'll work. In real life, the scorpion tail would probably go back further, but that'll work for me. For what I want to do, that'll work. The head has some rotation to it. I don't really think a scorpion head should be able to rotate at all. But you know what? One thing I don't like here is it doesn't rotate from the center. It rotates from higher up. And I think it should rotate from the center. So we're going to go into edit mode. And we're just going to select this little circle thing here. Actually, no, we'll select this bone. And we're going to pull it down 0.05, which puts it to the center of that head. Let's go back to pose mode. Now it rotates from the center, but you know what? This should be right there, I think. Let's try that. See how that looks. Okay, I like that. I like how that looks. Let's check out the legs here. The legs I know should be just fine. Except I can't select. There we go. Alright, so let's put the leg pretty high, which is good. Ooh, I hadn't thought of that. If this leg bends out, it's going to stick out through the front side. So maybe we'll want to pull all these meshes back. Let's go into edit mode. And let's just select all of this. And let's scoot it in 0.03. And then let's go to object mode. And to edit mode on this, just do a highlight selection. And then move these over the same amount. 03. Alright. And then we'll go back to pose mode on this. How do I feel about that? You know, I think that looks better. So I'm going to go ahead and do that to the other side here now. Whoops. I wanted to do the bones first. Edit mode, and let's put this back to wireframe so we can see what we're doing. Select those bones, scoot them in 0.03. Object mode, select the mesh. Edit mode. And we'll just do box selection on the bottom. Control plus to increase the selection. Hold down the control key and slide that over to the right. So it's 0.03. Alright, and let's go back to pose mode now and just do a little something there. That works. Okay. So that's the basic mesh. But we want to set up some inverse kinematics stuff, I think. So we're going to use Scorpion Armature, and the bone should be the first tailbone. Okay, let's not stretch. Let's not use tail. I can never remember how to do this. Oh wait, we need to add chain length. Or that's not right. Oh wait, yeah, because we need to add an extra bone. Okay, so that looks pretty messed up. So let's click the little eyeball to turn that off. And let's go into edit mode. And we are going to select this last bone here. Shift D to duplicate it. And we'll just move it to there. We are going to break off its parent. It should not be parented. And we are going to call this tail IK control. Again, you can call it whatever you want. Nobody cares. Okay, maybe that's not entirely true, but you can call it whatever you want. And we're going to select this bone. And let's change this to tail IK control. And then turn it on. Now if we move that bone, the tail follows with. Woohoo! I figured it out without looking at another model. Notice, however, there is a slight problem here. In that this tail segment's not moving. That's because I don't have chain length long enough, I believe. How many chain lengths does this need to have? Or do I need to turn off use tail? Okay, what am I doing wrong here? It's to the Scorpion Armature. It's doing 1. Oh, wait. What in the... No, how... Oh, because I duplicated that. That's why that wasn't doing anything. Okay. Chain length 5. You'll see we get this little dashed line here showing us which bone it is running off of. Whoops. So now when we grab this, it moves the whole tail with it. And it does a pretty decent job. So if we go to solid, and actually let's switch to quad view with Control-Alt-Q. Here we have the tail. I can just grab it and move it wherever I want. Now, of course, you'll see, if I do it at this point, we're breaking this section. So what we can do is we can add a constraint here, and we can do a limit rotation. And we're going to go ahead and limit everything. And we'll do a min of 10 and 10. negative 10, 10, negative 10, and 10. And we are going to do local space. So now that bone should only be able to rotate a certain amount. It might not actually work though. Well, now this is strange. Do I need to check for transform? Transforms are affected by this constraint as well. Okay, I mean, that's a lot more than 10 degrees. That's like a full circle going on right there. Limit rotation. Local space. Maybe we want local without parent. Nope, that just made its starting place change. Pose space? Is that what we want to do? Pose space? Okay, that may not work using IK. I thought it would, and we'd be able to kind of cheat and make sure we don't ever get any spots where that shows, but seemingly we can't. So we just need to pay attention to where we put this bone so we don't make anything like that show up. To put the tail back to straight, we just do Alt G, and that clears the position and puts it more or less straight out. However, I would never want the tail showing like that, so I'm going to put it to right there. That's going to pretty much be its default position. Just kind of sticking his tail up in the air, as they often do. So now we're going to do the same thing for the legs, because, well, that's just where it gets the coolest. The body can move up and down. Oh, I should mention, the tail point will stay there if you move the parent bone. And while we're at it, let's actually add a bone constraint to this right away and copy the location. And all we want to do is copy we do not want to copy Y, but we want to copy Z, which is up and down, and we want to copy X, which is side to side. And for the target, we are going to select the Scorpion Armature, and then we are going to select the body. So now when we move the body, the tail moves with it, not back and forth though, just up and down and side to side. And when we rotate the body, the tail doesn't rotate at all. Oh, pretty snazzy, pretty snazzy. So, and there's a reason I wanted to do it this way instead of just making that a child where the rotation affected it too, because there's some stuff I want to do here, which won't work if I had done that setup. So let's go ahead and work on these legs. So we're going to go back to edit mode, and we are going to select a foot here, and we are going to go ahead and, whoops, I needed to actually select the leg bone. There we go. And we're going to go ahead and duplicate that with Shift D and just put it down. Just for clarity's sake, I'm going to rotate that 90 degrees. And I'm going to shove it right there. And again, we are going to... Why am I not... Here we go. We're going to kill the parent on that. It doesn't need a parent bone. It's going to be for the armature. We're going to make it a little bit smaller. You can leave it however you want. And we are going to call this leg left 1 underscore IK underscore control. Again, call it whatever you want. Just make sure it's, you know, something that you can kind of figure out what you mean. And then we're going to select this lower bone here and go to the little chain links there. And we're going to, oh wait, no, I don't want the chain links. We need to be in pose mode. That's why it wasn't showing. We want the bone with the little chain links. Add bone constraint. And we are going to do another inverse kinematics. The target is going to be Scorpion Armature. The bone is going to be leg left number 1 IK control. And the chain length, well, is going to be 2, because it should only go to that upper leg there. So now if you move this foot, the leg moves with it. And if I did this right, we move the body and the leg stays put. Pretty nifty. Now, let's turn this world cube back on and see what that looks like. I'm just going to go to solid mode here. So that's what the leg's rest position will be. Kind of shoved up in the air. I like that. I think that looks pretty good. Go to pose mode, and you know, I'm going to turn X-ray on for the bones. And let's just rotate the body, and I want to see how that works. Like if the scorpion lifts himself up, that foot stays on the ground, that works. And he can lower himself to the ground a little bit too. And he would most often do that when he was about to strike. He'd lower his body to the ground. Maybe even lift his butt end up a little bit to put the hind legs a little higher. And then, with a great sweeping motion, he would lash out with his tail and fill your body with venom and kill you. The tragedies of life. Alright, well that's enough drama for this episode. Let's get back to doing things. So, we could duplicate this bone if we want. We can duplicate this bone. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to duplicate this one. Just because it's already been unparented. And I'm going to change this to number 2, and then I'm going to get rid of the trailing .001. And I'm going to make this side panel a little bit wider just so we can see the name without it being cut off. And we'll change that to 3. And we will do that. Alright, so now let's go ahead and go into pose mode and set up the inverse kinematics for these as well. Target's going to be the scorpion armature. The bone is going to be I passed it up. It's going to be leg 2 IK control, and the chain length should be 2. And then we will do the same for this bone. It's really very simple once you know what you're doing. Like now I actually feel like I know what I'm doing because I'm doing a video on this. And for the last time I did the video, I did a bunch of work off camera to figure out what in the world I was doing wrong and why it wasn't working. And, well, now I've just done it 3 times in a row, and I'm pretty sure I know what I'm doing now, to the point where future videos I will not need to look at a reference model and see how it works. So there we go. Half the legs are complete. Should I do the others on camera? You know what? If you want to see it done some more, just jump back like 2 minutes and rewatch me doing the left. I'm going to do the right-hand side off camera. Alright, so as we can see here, that is completed. And we now have the legs on the other side, kind of slanted a little bit on an angle. Let's go into pose mode here and select the body bone, which I somehow managed to do. Wow. And there, look at this little guy working out. He is gonna have some ripped abs. Just look at him go. Wow, it's incredible. It's amazing. How can he do so many push-ups? It's probably because he's got 2 sets of legs to help him push. So much easier than us humans, only having 2 arms. Look at this guy go! Okay, let's get back to seriousness. This is very serious. This is super serious. Alright, so the legs are set up. Good. As we just seen, this guy he's gonna have some ripped abs. The tail set up. Woohoo! Look at him. Now he's working that tail. Look at those tail muscles bulge. Okay, maybe this is his attack. His tail's like this and then it lunges forwards through his body. Or more like this. And it stabs you in the face. Okay, well that would be something more for the animation portion of this. So I think I will leave off with the animation stuff for now. Okay, one of the cool things we can do with bones is hide them. Now you can hide anything. I mean, like, that's not that big a deal. But we can hide the bones. And we're just doing display hide. Very, very easy there. And now you might be thinking, but I need to see those bones. To which I say, no, you do not. Because you never touch those bones. You can still accomplish everything you were doing before with just this one bone. And with that being said, we can also, hide these bones for the legs. And I don't think I can do multiples at a time. Nope. It only does the last selected. Also, rather than doing that, we could just hit the H key on the keyboard. Yay! Useless bones are no longer visible. Theoretically, we could hide these bones as well, because, after all, we only need that little foot bone. So let's go and hide these. And, well, if we're at it, we may as well hide that. And this one, well, you know, we do still have the ability to slide the tail in and out of the body. Which, really, there's no point in doing, so let's hide that as well. And now we just have the bones that control all the IK rigs. And honestly, it's all, and then the master bone, which moves the body. And you'll notice with the IK rigs, those bones keep the body positioned where it's at. So he can, I don't know what kind of exercise he's doing now, but he can do some more exercise. Squats, maybe? Is this how a scorpion does squats? I hate squats. I hate them so much. Or maybe he's doing, like, trying to do jumping jacks. Or vaulting. Is that what they call it? Vaulting? Whatever. We can do that. Now, unfortunately, with hiding bones, well, there's two ways you can get them back. You can go to this and keep opening this up. And now we have all these leg bones, which are invisible, and we can turn them back on by clicking the eyeballs here. Or we can do Alt-H. But that unhides everything that was hidden. And, well, actually, H hid it all that time. So, but there's another thing we could do. We could hit M, and we can change the bone layer. So we could put the bone layer on layer 2. So now, if we are in, well, that, how do I change that? Uh-oh. I was going to explain how to do this, and I don't know now. How do I change which bone layer I'm viewing? Do I hit that? Okay, that's what we do. Okay, so now we can just have the bones here. The body, yeah, we need that. The master, the tail, yep. So that's layer 1. And layer 2 has all the bones we don't need. And, well, there's all these layers that we can put bones on. And if we want to see them both, we can just hold down the shift key and select both layers there. And now all of our bones are visible. And when we want to switch back to just bones that we actually want to deal with, we can just use layer 1. Now, I thought there was a way you could name the bone layers. But honestly, I don't know if there's really any huge advantage to that. And we have the pose position, which is obviously the position that it's set up in. And you can just click rest position and it instantly jumps to everything being default, I guess. Default's really not the right word, but it's the rest position. It's when nothing's posed, nothing's been changed. This is what we would see if we cleared the rotation and location and scaling on every single bone. So it's just an easy way to skip back and forth between the two if you want to see your mesh at rest for whatever reason. I mean, there could be any number of reasons, and you can change these when you're in just object mode as well. So we're going to leave that on this layer because that's a little easier to deal with. And we're going to go back to solid shading. So I think that's everything we need to do for rigging. There's really not anything else we want to rig. The body can move. The feet can all move. There's no point in using an IK rig for the head because the head's only one bone. And we can rotate this guy, which creates some kind of contortionist type stuff. And notice the tail is just moving up and down, but not rotating with. And he can go sideways too. This could be an attack move right here. He'd call it the blender. And I just realized that people are going to think I was making a joke because this is blender. But I meant more like a food processor blender with the blades that spin and chop up food because he's spinning. That's what I meant by the blender. But yeah, someone's going to leave a comment saying, "Oh, that's such a good pun." And I didn't even mean it as a pun. Alright, well that is going to be it for this video, I think. Next episode we will look at animating this guy and making a walk cycle, which I'll tell you right now is going to be garbage because I am horrible at walk cycles. But be sure to tune in because there'll be tons of little tasty morsels of goodies and helpful stuff to know and learn. So be sure to tune in. If you don't, I will find you and I will tape your eyes open and I will make you watch it on YouTube. And I won't even let you skip the ad before it. So I'll make like a penny maybe off of it. So be there or be square.